idea. This was coming off of WrestleMania 9, where they had I think as time has passed by and people have looked back at it, the very horrible finish to a semi. It's not really reviewed that well. I think mainly because I was a kid and I have special feelings for it. WrestleMania 9 is always a fun show to me, but to a lot of people, it is just a show full of horrible screwjob finishes that are just all over, just don't give it any merit. And the way that it finishes, with the big build-up of, Yokozuna coming in as the #1 contender to fight Bret Hart because of the win at the Royal Rumble. And then at the finish of that match, we just see Hogan come down. Hogan challenging Yokozuna to a match. Or I guess it was really Yokozuna challenging Hogan to a match. And then Mr. Fuji jumping up, throwing the salt in Yoko's eyes, seeing the big boot. And within seconds, before anybody knew what was happening, Hulk Hogan was your WWF champion again in 1993. I mean, this is the same card he was on where he was in a tag titles match, going up against Money Inc. with the Barber. It's just weird to go from being the #1 contender to the tag championship to winning the WWF championship on one card. And I know Beefcake, isn't the biggest superstar of all time, but Hogan was the main draw of that match. That is one of the things that everybody came to see. But just basically the plan at the time, if you really break down to it and go into the sheets, was that Vince was trying to, put a spark back into his company. You can look at the attendance of this King of the Ring show that was held in, I believe, Dayton, Ohio. Only 6,000 people. Probably one of the least attended WWF pay-per-views of all time, or at least from the 80s on. Just how they were only able to draw this many people, especially on a show that had Hulk Hogan in a, I guess you can say, a co-main event slot. I mean, because of all the controversy that was going down at the time, it was hidden in the middle of this card. I can't even. It was the 6th match on the card, which is a very weird spot for Hogan to be. But they had the tournament. They can't really have something built around finding out who the King of the Ring was, and not really have that be the go home to the show. But more than likely, if Hogan was playing ball and he was doing what he was supposed to be doing, was taking the championship, sparking up some house show numbers, and getting the belt to SummerSlam and putting Bret Hart over and making him the real deal. For Vince and for Bret and the WWF universe at that time to be moving forward and sort of, picking up where Hogan sort of dropped the ball off by not really finding a person to pass the ball to along the way. Basically, it's just, you can read Bret's book. It probably best puts it, that was the plan all along, was to do Hogan versus Bret. Hogan didn't want to pass the ball to Bret for if it was reasons that Hogan didn't like Bret. Hogan didn't think Bret was the right guy. Hogan didn't want to, sort of end it on that note. You can say what you want to. I love Hogan, but it probably wasn't the best decision of his career. But then again, in 1993, everybody thought that Hulk Hogan was done. I mean, that he was just going to maybe go off, make some movies, make some commercials, and we'd never see him wrestle again. We never thought that he would go to WCW, relaunch his career with the NWO, come back in 2002 and have another run and, be showing up at WrestleMania 30. All these years later. It's just, weird. But Yokozuna and Hulk Hogan had a match with just basically no heat. Nobody really cared about it. At one point, a Japanese photographer jumped up on the ring in order to get a picture. You always see Japanese photographers at Yokozuna's matches outside on the thing, but you've never seen one climb up there. And this one had a big, huge gimmick camera, like from the 40s, maybe the 50s, whatever it was. And in this one, took the picture, it shot off a ball of fire that went into Hogan's eyes. The screw job was on. Hogan got rolled up by Yoko. The 1, the 2, and the 3. And that was the last we saw of Hulk Hogan in WWF until 2002. He would ride off into the sunset, say goodbye. Yoko would be the new champion that's moving on, and that was the direction that WWF was pushed again.